Welcome back to Telos, the Purpose Podcast. Today is the second episode and I'm joined by Adam, co-founder of Nouva Group, a business aimed at connecting young professionals through events and opportunities. We'll talk about the real meaning of a successful life, how to build genuine connections, and how being young and restless can be a strength when channeled correctly. Adam opens up about mindset and especially the importance of turning negative thoughts into positive ones and how far this can take you in business life. This episode is about ambition, perspective, and having a positive mindset no matter what you do. Let's get into it. Adam, if someone bumped into you in a cafe and asked you what you were all about, who are you, what would you say?
I would say I'm building one of the biggest young professional networks in the world, and that I'm ruthlessly ambitious to achieve.
What is this young network?
Yeah, so the company's called Nouva Group, where we basically realized there was a huge gap with young professionals networking, and we host at some of the best locations in London. We're currently focused on London, but we're going to move all over. We've already had interest from New York, Singapore, any big city. We have a lot of inquiries that are like all over the world. So we will eventually go there. But the main concept of Nouva Group is to connect young, ambitious professionals.
Why do you think that there is such a demand for, in both part, you say network and young professionals?
Yeah.
Why those two things together? Why do you think young people in general, and why networking? Why is networking such an important aspect of business?
Great question. So I think with networking, if we start there, networking gets you into places you can't just get into working for someone or just getting along with your day-to-day life. Networking gives you the opportunity, or gives you many different opportunities. So like, for example, on the weekend, if you want to go to a restaurant, but you know the GM, you could potentially get a reservation. Or business opportunities. If you know the right people, they might be building some sort of business, and because you're associated with them, they might see what potential you have, and you could potentially go into that. I think with networking, it's so broad, but I think overall, it's a way to get into many different doors. And going on to your other point with the young professional side, if you're hungry, ambitious, and a young professional in your career, building a business, it's a great way to get ahead and get ahead of your career. If you're trying to build a company and you don't have any partners or you need investment, go to a networking event of young professionals. They might be doing something that's similar. Or if you're in your corporate career and you simply want to network with people that like you, it's so broad, the word network, but overall it just gets you into many different doors.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And I completely agree in the way that, as the saying goes, it's not necessarily what you know, but it's who you know.
Yeah.
And that can definitely open up some doors, as you would put it. What do you think if someone were to ask someone who is a member of Nouva and would say, "What do you think of Nouva?"
Yeah.
What do you think they would say?
I would say that they would say that, well, I think they'd speak very highly of it. With Nouva Group, all the members tend to refer members, which again is a huge part. And I would say it's something that's unique and something that hasn't been seen. Every new member that joins loves what we do and wants always more, and really kind of holds the brand, and they feel quite proud to be a member because of what we're building. And they're kind of on that journey. We are still, although we've been going for almost 2 years or 1.5 years, it's still very much at the beginning of what we're going to achieve. And I think as a member, you're like, well, I'm kind of on this journey too. And yeah, we feed off of what members tell us. The way we develop Nouva Group further is purely through what the members say.
You speak of we when you refer to the ownership of Nouva. Who is we?
Yeah, so I co-founded the business with a guy called Jay Ferguson. We didn't really know each other a lot when we started the business. We kind of just really had a lot of different synergies, and yeah, one day we kind of realized this gap. We were talking and we're like, let's just start. So we built a company name, which it took us months to even build that, and eventually we came to Nouva Group, and then we built a logo, and then we're like, well, what do we do next? Well, we want to connect young professionals. What do we do? Well, let's host an event. So we hosted our first event at SJP Hackett on Savile Row, and yeah, it was a statement, a real statement of an event. And again, going onto the network, we could only do that because I knew someone that knew them. So that was huge. And even when we did that event, we had no real clue what we're building. We just knew we wanted to connect young professionals. We didn't really know what kind of way we would build the membership or what would be inclusive of the membership. And so we built Nouva Group on trialing many different things and figuring it out. We've tried, I mean, if you look at it compared to now, like our membership is completely different. And like, just, it's quite funny to look back what it actually is, because it's like multiple different things and, this going on that. And it's like, sometimes less is more. And that's what we really have dealt with and kind of done at Nouva Group.
I suppose word of mouth has really grown your business for you. And I'm aware that you also have, for your members, they can bring a guest along, try it out, see if they like it. And then with the idea in mind that guest also might become a part of Nouva. When you first got it going, was it more a thing of you invited other friends, maybe like-minded to yourself, and then they invited their friends and the circle kind of grew? Or did you set up the business and then like advertise it and see if anyone was interested? Or how did you go about this?
Yeah, so I mean, the first event we ever did, it was purely just people we knew and like bring some friends, those kind of things. And I would say even like the second or third one was probably the same, because at that point we didn't really know what and how to get the name out there. And over time we've understood what does and what works. We didn't really use social media to the way we use it now, and that's something that really helps grow the business. I think social media is like a power tool of its own. And so yeah, it was definitely like friends of friends, and then those friends of friends brought their friends, and then just over time, building it up. And we did a lot more on Nouva Group and like posting a lot more, trying to also do like ads and those kind of things, and that did bring some interest. But yeah, it was really just over time, just like getting it, that kind of initial circle of like friends we invited, just broadening. And then now we just have so much, majority of people now that inquire, they don't know anything about Nouva Group or us, which is amazing to say, because that's the point we wanted to get to. And now we finally got there where, yeah, majority, or I'd say 9 times out of 10, the inquiries we have are, they don't know anything about, especially Jay or I, or really Nouva Group. They've just come across it.
Yourself and Jay, you've come together, you've collaborated, and you've created this business, Nouva. Mm-hmm. Who are you as individuals behind the business? Do you get along? Are you friends?
Yeah, we're definitely friends. We have a very fine line because it's always interesting doing business with friends. I mean, he could really be like a wife, because I probably call him about 4 or 5 times a day, and we talk all the time. I tell him morning, like, it's kind of that level, because we have to, we've got things to do. I would say we're very good friends now, but we know a very fine line between business and friendship, and that's something that Jay and I are very much like a yin and yang in that kind of that perspective. And we know we're very good at controlling emotion. That's one thing that we're very good equally at, because there might be things that I should be doing or he should be doing, and you've got to be careful, not be careful, but you've got to say it in the right way. And so yeah, we bounce off each other very well. And we know each other's, like, I'd say, lines of how far to push each other. And yeah, it's just a very good working relationship. When it comes to work, we know, like, we can say whatever to each other, it's work. But also on a friendship level, we go out a lot together, we spend a lot of time together, and we just generally get on very well. And yeah, it's a very good relationship.
That's really good. So you speak of how if one steps out of line, you're able to go speak to one another and stuff. So would you say you both accept criticism quite well? You're both open to growing as individuals?
Yeah.
So there's definitely this aspect of both of you lowering your egos for the sake of the business.
Yeah.
Why do you think, in particular with yourself, what's put you on that path to become that sort of person that can run a business with another person?
Really good question. I think, well, yeah, that's tough. I would say it's
because some people prefer to run businesses by themselves, right?
Yeah, and I think I can, compliments to anyone that does that. But for me, I only know as much as I know, and whenever there's an issue, whenever there's something we need to do, he's got another perspective. I'm very big on other perspectives, even the people that work for us now. I will ask them certain questions, and I think obviously you got to be careful with certain perspectives and don't take that in the wrong way, or just take whatever else says, right? Really think about and right, could this be good? But he comes with a very different perspective than I do, and it complements each other because, again, you only know as much as you can know. And being in a position where there might be some sort of issue, or you need to do something but you don't know how to do it, you've got someone there that like, right, how can we do this? What do you think with this? And it just makes, I wouldn't change it at all. I think it would be incredibly hard to run Nouva Group alone because of, I'm sure I could do it, but it's tough. There's a lot of problems, there's a lot of issues and a lot of things you need to do. And it's nice to have that other person there that can equally tackle those challenges together. And he may know something that I don't, vice versa. So it's nice.
Yeah, you mentioned and referred to it as the yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's very important and very, very key in a business, I believe, as well. That you have someone that you can bridge and branch each other's thoughts with.
Yeah.
And you can also grow from that. Let's talk about you as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, you run this business and you've, as we agreed, like having to drop your ego and that sort of stuff. Let's go more into that way. What are your personal aims and goals as a human being? And what do you want to get out of running Nouva?
Good question. I think I have no end point, and I think it's a good way to look at life. I don't think there's a limit on what one could achieve. I generally don't. And I think people that say, right, I want to get here, well, you're only limiting what you can achieve. So there isn't an end point. There's just things we want to do. So, for example, we want to build an app. We want to go global. Those are things we can do, but that's only the start of what we can do. So, it's a tough one because, I've been asked this question before, and it's like, well, I don't really know because I don't see an end point of how far I can go. Because at the end of the day, your mind is the only barrier to how far you can go, and it's just a fact. And I think knowing that and going through that, it's like, well, let's just put my all in and see how far I can go. And just doing like that, right? We could die tomorrow. So
power of the mind, power of belief.
Exactly.
You have to believe it, right?
You do. You have to believe it.
The only obstacles you are right are the ones that are set up by your own mind. And I also don't believe that there is ever really a made it moment.
Yeah.
It's nice to think that there is, and it's quite uncomfortable to think that there's not.
Yeah.
Of course, you can set goals, you can set these macro goals, and you can achieve them. And probably, you probably have a bit of a made it moment, like I just made my first million or whatever.
Yeah.
But that lasts a day.
It does.
And you climb and you reach one peak and you see a peak even higher and you think, here we go again, so.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that point, because if we looked at Nouva, if we could see ourselves now compared to even like 6 months ago, right? We'd be like, oh, that's amazing, So it's like, but even now I'm like, no, we've got so much more to do. Like, it's just normal. It is very interesting reflecting on that point, because also that makes you think, right, when I have everything, how much more will I want? And it is an interesting thought, and I have thought about it a lot, because you've kind of got this never-ending, I'd say like never-ending point of like, you want to get there, but it's like it's just like you're moving along with it, but you never actually get there. But if you reflect back, I think, well, when I was there and I'm here now, it's like amazing. So, but it's interesting how you kind of deal with that, because I think with ambition, you can just be quite ruthless and it's never enough. I'm the kind of guy that it's never enough. There's always more to do. We map out, for example, tasks every morning. Right, those tasks are done, but it's surface level work. Let's what else can we do? What else can we do today that's going to benefit tomorrow, the week, the month, next month, the month after that? So it's just, and it can be frustrating, always being in the mindset of like, it's never enough, but also it's what makes people successful. That kind of, I'd say, that guilt feeling when you're like sat down, you're like, well, I've done everything, but I should be doing more. And I think any entrepreneur or someone building a business kind of goes through that kind of guilt of sitting down and not doing anything. But you've got to find a way to work with that, because otherwise you'll just eat yourself up and you burn out.
I like what you said with how you said if you chase at point A and it just feels like it never gets any closer. I like what Matthew McConaughey said. He did a speech, I think it was at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And he said his hero was always 10 years ahead of him.
Yeah.
And for him, he's never going to be his hero.
Yeah.
His hero is always 10 years ahead, but it keeps him with something to chase.
Yeah.
And as you said, I think that's so important as someone looking to run a business or improve as a person.
Yeah.
what are your goals as a person? Like, do you want to live in the UK? Do you want to live in another country?
Good question. I'll probably go where the business goes. I really don't care about like, well, I shouldn't say that, but like, I care more about my future than where I want to travel. And if the business or if there's an opportunity, yeah, I'll go there. But I'm so driven by business at the moment, and it is very much consuming. But that is my day-to-day life: work, training, of course, spending time and going to see friends, those kind of things. I definitely would like to, I think, go to the Middle East, and I think that's a great place for business, like Qatar and Saudi and Riyadh. But I mean, I don't have like I want to go there. I wouldn't mind traveling, that's nice, but as long as I can move the business and it makes sense. So yeah, it's kind of managing that. And I think eventually I will move where I'm not too sure. I know New York would be great for the business, and it's great for business opportunities. I know like Singapore's amazing, Hong Kong, and various other places. But I don't think I have like, I want to live here and I'm going to stay there. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned as well that you have this aspect about you that's completely restless, and you are willing to do anything for the
Yeah.
business and just absolutely push it as far as it can go, which has no limit.
Yeah.
What do you think of balancing the state of being and becoming? Because there's a lot of people who are so restless and are so driven to push themselves as far as they can go, but they realize that there's no actual end. And that involves keeping your mind in the future.
Yeah.
You're always thinking, what can I do now? What can I do now? What can I do tomorrow? What can I do the day after that?
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult trying to actually sit in the present moment and appreciate the fresh air, or are you always just thinking, what can I do next?
Good question. I think majority of the time, yeah, it's what's next. I've got to do this, got to write an email, I've got to send this to someone. But I think one way to counter that is spending time with friends and going out. I try and do walks, try and just I'll do this and I'll go on a walk for an hour or like half an hour, or I'll go to the gym. It's why I like getting up early. No one's going to message me in the morning. And well, especially the time I go. And that's like, right, got this gym session. I don't go on my phone the whole time. I'm just focused on that. So I'm there, present and in the moment. But I think, yeah, it's tough. It is tough to stay present. It really is, especially when your mind is continuously going, what else do I need to do? What's next? Okay, I've got this, we've got that. So it is trying to like rein yourself back in and really, yeah, spend time with friends. Those are good. Have a drink, have a beer. I mean, some of the best times is just going anywhere and just having a beer with some friends and just like relaxing and chatting some shit, So, but yeah, majority of the time it is quite forward. I would say forward focused.
If someone looking to like run their own business themselves,
Yeah.
but was also very interested in the self-growth side of things, this maybe a little bit separate to business, what would be your tips to that person on keeping those two things separate, if they are separate?
So what two things?
What tips would you give to someone
Yeah.
if they wanted to just keep those things separate and not muddle them together? Because as you said, being present in each individual thing, so like you're in the gym, you're not on your phone because you're trying to focus on the gym, and that's not to do with the business necessarily.
Yeah.
So what would be your tips in remaining in the present? Do you have any habits, anything that you do to practice remaining in the present moment?
Yeah, meditation's good. That's really good, especially if you're worried about something or anything like that, and you're so just making up scenarios. I think with like being anxious for something or anything like that, if you do some meditation, ground yourself a bit, you're like, right, this is really just in my head. So those things are really good. So I think meditation's good, training's good, and I'm big on like hard training. Like if I have a hard day, I like train.
Gym training.
Yeah, gym, run. I just like to train to the limit, because I think if there's something that's hard, or there's something hard coming up, whether you've done it or it's about to come, if you train really hard and just push yourself to that limit, that thing you've got to do, for me personally, just feels smaller, because I've just gone and pushed myself to the boundaries. I'm huge in that. Even if I've done something that has been, I'll be really anxious or it's been very stressful, I'll just go on a really hard run, like a really long run as well. And I just keep going. I love that so much. But kind of going back to the point, it's hard. I think you've just got to be quite disciplined.
So you say like you like to train harder if you got something hard coming up, and you set this hard baseline
Yeah.
quite high so that anything less.
Yeah.
It's also a good idea, I think, to train when things are hard already. So train, so summer's just been, winter arc is coming.
Yeah.
Getting up early is going to be more difficult. The weather outside is going to be more cold, more rainy.
Yeah.
You're going to feel less like going for a run.
Yeah.
All of these things. Do you think it's important that those people looking to be able to separate those different areas of their life really focuses on getting it going this winter, so that when they spring back in spring and summer, it feels easier and they feel like they've got it a little bit more?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's super important to just stay like super disciplined. Like I train every day, like every day. The reason I do it isn't, of course, you can train, you can, obviously get muscles look good, but I think for me it's more mental, and I've kind of ingrained it so much into my head that there is no other option. And I think doing that, it doesn't really matter what, whether it's summer, it's winter, autumn, whatever it is. I think putting yourself into a mindset of like, I've got to do this and I'm going to do it. And there's no real option. It's not about how I feel. It's not about how much I've slept. It's just, I'm going to do it. So that's the mindset I have when it comes to training. So I tend to get up at like 5, half 5, get ready, go to the gym, but there's no other option for what I'm going to be doing at that time. I finish at 7, go home, and then I'm set up for the day. It makes me feel amazing. And I think what I always remember is, well, when I come back, I'm going to feel great. Like that set me up for the day. But I will feel strange if I don't train in the morning, because I'm like, well, I'm not really I'm really woken up. I, just feel a bit lazy, and it's super important. But I think people shouldn't think of it as like a seasonal thing. And that's in a lot of different aspects. If you're doing something that's going to benefit yourself, you should look at it as a lifetime thing rather than just a seasonal thing. For example, like people that wait to New Year's just to get fit and lose weight. Like, why wait? Just
New Year's resolution.
Yeah. So it's something that I think should be like ingrained.
I participated in 75 hard. Are you aware of what that is?
Yeah, that's tough.
With a friend, and it was okay, but halfway through I started to realize, what is this if I don't continue it after? Was it just 75 days where I did really well and then fell back to my old routines again?
Yeah.
So I think you are absolutely spot on. You can use that maybe to like spark yourself with a little bit of motivation.
Yeah.
But when that dies out, it's your discipline to keep that fire lit. You can light it with a match or whatever, but you've got to keep that fire alive. So what do you do to ensure that you don't just run on motivation? When you lose your motivation, how do you stay disciplined?
That's a great question. I've built it into my head that there's just no other option. Really, like, I never want to go to the gym in the morning. There's not a single day I wake up and want to go. Not a single one. I just do it. I just do it every day. And when you do it for so long, you're just like, well, this is part of my routine. This is what I'm going to be doing. What else am I going to do? So it's just doing it for so long, you just feel like there's no real other option. And if you don't do it, then you're going to regret not doing it. And just doing it over and over and over again. And then eventually it'll be a point where you can have the odd day off here and there, but you feel like you should be doing it. And it's something you just build it.
And if you don't do it, do you ever miss a day?
So, I mean, sometimes I do.
How does it make you feel when you feel like you've missed something so key to your growth?
Yeah, good question. I would say, it makes you feel pretty shit. And yeah, it's just like, it's built in your routine. It's like, well, why am I not doing it? I should have done that. Have I stayed up too late the night before? Should I have gone to bed? What am I doing? What's scrolling through reels? That's not going to benefit me, but going to the gym at 5 will. So there is a level of guilt there. I mean, sometimes when you've just trained for so many days consecutively, it's like, right, okay, maybe you deserve a little break or change it up. So sometimes I do mainly like 6 days weights and stuff in the morning, and then on like a Sunday, I'll just do a different kind of exercise. So I can maybe wake up a little bit later and just go on a long run or something like that. So you try and change it around that you don't, drive yourself a bit insane with it. But yeah, it's like, it is something that you feel like you should be doing all the time.
You could either prioritize sleep or routine. Let's say you had a longer day the day previous.
Yeah.
And you stayed up later and you had more to do. Would you prioritize your sleep? Do you sleep much? Would you make sure you get the amount of sleep you require and then start your day a little bit later the next day?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say, so I used to have real bad issues of sleeping. And I would say it's because I used to have ridiculously high amounts of caffeine, and I've slowed that down. I used to have like 9 cups of coffee a day, and like, because I come from an Italian background, and my dad will like drink espressos at 3 a.m. in the morning and go to bed after and just smoke cigarettes, drink coffee all day. So I mean, when you're kind of born into that, you're all right, it's fine, but it does mess with your sleep. So I think for about 2 years I had really bad sleep problems, and I mean, like, there'll be nights where I'm going to bed at, I don't know, probably eventually going to bed at like 2, 3, and like waking up at 5. And you just do that over and over. But for me, what's interesting is there was never a thought of like, right, I'm just going to lay in a little bit more. It was like, kind of, I'm still going to get up, and I'll just do that over and over. So to answer your question, sleep, of course, is important, but my routine is more important.
What's your favorite part about your routine? You said you don't enjoy necessarily going to the gym,
Yeah.
but you make yourself do it anyway.
Yeah.
Is there any part of your routine that you actually look forward to in your day?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the gym part, I hate waking up. I hate like in there, but once you're in there and you start feeling it, it's good. I would say overall, what routine do I like? I would say that's a good question. I don't really know. I would say, I mean, you know, you enjoy what you do, right? I enjoy building Nouva Group, and I would say that's what I enjoy. I enjoy building the future of Nouva Group and being so focused on building that for me that's enjoyable. I love what we're building, and it's purely filled like through passion. So every day it doesn't feel like a job, for example. It's more of, you know, you're building a company, you know, you're building what you want to build, and it's exciting.
So you're young. How old are you if you're my master?
23.
23 years old. So you're still very young man. When did you realize that you wanted more from life? When did you realize that you wanted to be a business owner and, you know, not follow the general 9 to 5 route, or not to put any shade on 9 to 5, because some people, you know, if you want that and you have a profession and you're good at it and you love your profession, go for it. I'm all for live and let live. And if that's how you want to live, go for it. But it doesn't sound to me like that was the route that was attractive to you, the 9 to 5 route.
Yeah. So, I mean, funny enough, I still do work for a corporate firm, so I manage that around that as well, right? So, but to answer and I mean, like a normal 9 to 5, you know, there's just so much more to life. And like for me, I just look at like the train going into the morning, mainly when I used to go to the office more. But you just look at the train, people are miserable going in, people are miserable going out, just hundreds of thousands of people every single day, in and out. So for me, building Nouva Group, you know, it's just like, well, that is the future. And so the tipping point for me, and I actually do remember it, because there was like this, I think it was like 14, right? And the teacher was like, well, how much do you want to make? And people like throwing all these numbers, and I was young, so I was like, yeah, I want to make like 10 million. And then I just sat there and I'm like, well, how am I going to do it? And everyone else is just joking around. I'm just sat there like really young, and I don't know why I remember it, but I just do. I'm like, well, how am I going to do it though? And I would say like ever since then, you know, I've started just doing things that will better my life every day. And for me, I left school at 16. School wasn't for me. If you ask anyone that I went to school with, they'll think now I'm a completely different person, because I've built myself into the person I am today. But yeah, so I left at 16, and you know, I started working for a few different firms, and you know, I had a good career and built things pretty quickly, and yeah, and then obviously Nouva Group came along, and so we've been really working on that and all the other things we want to do with Nouva Group. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and yeah, so the main focus is that. But I think if people want to build a company, you know, it doesn't mean you have to just automatically leave the company you're working for if you're working for someone. I think it's like prioritizing your time. So if you want to build a company, and let's say you do work a 9 to 5, but your ambition is to move into that, prioritize the time you can on that business. So when you finish work, just work on that, you know, and really put in the work, and just keep doing that over and over and over. And then eventually, I would say, when you do leave the company, you have to be in a position where you can at least like pay for your bills and be somewhat financially level. And then, you know, you can then really go all in. But I think a lot of people sometimes jump too quickly. And I understand that you can go all in and just do it and all that. But I think sometimes you don't always have to do that. And I think we live in a society now where, especially like Instagram and stuff, you see people that, drive little Lamborghinis or Ferraris, join their trading course, buy their course, all this stuff,
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, I know. And I think that can put a fake image, and that can put a lot of unnecessary pressure on people. You're not going to be an overnight success, and it's important to know that. And you can have an amazing idea, and then when you turn that amazing idea into action, you're going to love it at the beginning. It's going to be great. But then when the nights start turning longer, and you've got to do the same thing over and over, that's what makes people successful. The people that can keep going through that, keep pushing for new ideas just over and over. And yeah, prioritizing time. And then when you get into that position to be able to, I think, change over to, it's your full-time gig, do it. But I wouldn't put pressure on going all in too soon. Make sure it's an idea that works. Make sure you see, the vision in front of you. And if you can do both and have two incomes, great. You don't need to eventually leave your company you work for. But I think, yeah, if you've got an idea, just go for it.
You were talking there about like the new things, that new excitement, new things in general. As human beings, they either give us fear or excitement, and I think they are both in some way the same emotion, just two different variants. And that excitement that you might have over that new idea, that new business, that's motivation, right? That passion. But what happens when you've hit that spark on that fire and it is going? You've got to keep that fire going, right? There's that discipline part of it, and you have this going quite well for you, but you've got to, when it gets to a certain breaking point, how would you say the person who's trying to, they're putting all their time into their job and all their spare time into the business that they want to get going, and when it's reaches that breaking point with a certain amount of velocity, how do you know when the switch is the right time, and how do you execute it so well?
I would say, for one, you got to be realistic. I mean, I think you have to be a bit unrealistic to want to build certain things, but you have to be realistic in that certain point when you're thinking of leaving your company. If you've got responsibility, i.e. bills, whatever it is, you need to be able to cover those, or at least have enough in savings to cover a certain amount of period. So it's a really tough question, and I don't think there's really a right time. I think it's, you got to be or you get funding, right, and then you're like, great, all right, cool. But I think it's getting into a position where you can pretty much pay all your bills, or you can pay your bills, and it's being at that level where you can just go, fuck it, I'm all in. And sometimes you don't even have to be at that point. You can do both. So it's a tough question, because I don't really think there's like a right way. And it's kind of just knowing. I think you've got to know, like, okay, I can actually just be full-time here. We don't need to work, or you're just making so much money. It's like, what's the point? And so I think everyone knows the right time, but there isn't like a right point.
There are, of course, obstacles that are safety mechanisms in our brain that we set up ourselves in the pursuit of our goals, like the risk factors. We might overthink them. All these things. How do you overcome that? Is it all power of the mind? Is it all power of belief?
Yeah, it's entirely mind. I mean, any barrier is purely through your mind. It's you've got to really learn how to deal with it. And it's incredibly tough. Everyone knows the thing they don't want to do, and they'll never talk about it. But like, there's one thing or a couple of things that people just hate and won't be very vocal about it. And if you can do that thing, you will become unstoppable. It's really in your mind, and it's mainly due to like making up situations in your brain and these kind of things, or I don't want to wake up early, or I don't want to do that speech, or it's mainly those kind of things. And it's, if you can just train your mind to go, I don't care how I feel. There's one thing to remember. There's never a perfect moment. Like, never. You just got to do it. Whether it's, right, the alarm's gone off, I'm in that, no, just get up, do it. Whether it's, I need to do a presentation for 100 people, do it. There's not going to be a perfect moment. Just literally do it. What's generally the worst that can happen? Right, let's say, for example, you're worried what people think of you. Who cares? Do it. They're not going to care about you in 100 years. You're going to be dead. So it's really just having, and it's tough because, there's even things I hate doing, but I still do it. Everyone's, it's not like an instant thing. You do it and it's going to overcome it. You just need to keep doing it. And yeah, it's really trying to control your mind. And there's things you can do, meditation, really prioritizing training. I think training's a great output, and that's one thing for me why I train so hard. It's a great output, and it makes you feel good, kind of releases stress. And so, yeah, there's certain things you can do to prepare yourself better, but there's one thing, there's never going to be a perfect moment.
Perfectism is impossible,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that form of procrastination, I think, is another obstacle that people face, and they fall for it way too much. Also, like you said, treating the physical body is amazing training for your mentality.
Yeah.
And you've got to have, philosophically speaking, the element of mind over matter.
Yeah.
You know, your body's going to want to do things that your brain says, you shouldn't do that, or the other way around. Your body's not going to want to do things, and your brain says, you hear that little voice, in next door saying, do it, and you've kind of got to start getting the rhythm of following that voice.
Yeah.
So, like for the gym, I think there's more to just building your body from hitting good exercises consistently and stuff. You really train that brain. Seneca said, Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, Seneca said, treat the body rigorously so that it may not be disobedient to the mind.
Yeah.
And I think that is a real good quote to remember when you don't want to hit that gym session, or you don't want to go for that run, because it's not just about, growing the bigger biceps or improving your fitness. It's always going on in here too. And if you're not doing something, you're getting worse. You're either improving or, you're losing yourself a little bit. And I tend to think of like this self-development path as being a ball on the side of a hill.
Yeah.
If you're not physically rolling yourself forward up that hill, gravity is going to roll you straight back down.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing the things to improve yourself, you're gonna roll back down. So when you wake up in the mornings, what do you think? I need to be doing this. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing this. Because obviously there's that part about you that's like, or I'm going to be rolling back down.
Yeah, it's always thinking forward. You just got to continuously think forward. And what do I need to do? How am I going to do it? Let's do it. It's I think the biggest reason people have stress is because they're not doing the things they need to do. Like generally, even if everyone procrastinates, like it's a thing people do, but if you actually do the things you need to do, you feel great after. But just do it. Do the hardest task as well. It makes you feel great. Yeah, just do that over and over.
Yeah, like again, setting that baseline higher so that you prepare yourself for anything worse. It's also important to goal set, I think. There's actually science behind this, but the truest form of happiness, I think, in general, any happiness that is obtained in doing so, of pursuing your goal.
Yeah.
We as humans, we prioritize things even like on the micro scale, the way we are positioned sitting right now is in some form of prioritization.
Yeah.
We want this leg to be comfy, we want this leg to be comfy. We're prioritizing things all the time. Where we look, why do you look over there? Why do you look at that car? Why do you prioritize visualizing things, So do you set goals? Do you to maintain your well-being as a human being? Do you set goals to make sure you stay on track?
Good question. I don't really know. I don't. It's a new day. I've got this to do. We've got that to do. I'm just going to do it. There's obviously goals I want to achieve, and like things you want, like materialistic things, really, like houses, cars, those kind of things. But goal-wise, I would say I focus on not, I wouldn't say like the short term, but just I don't have like, again, the end point of goals I want to kind of accomplish. I mean, there are like business goals, personal goals. Yeah, potentially you want to be married by a certain date, and you want to have a house and these kind of things. But I think things can change so fast, so quickly, and I've realized that building Nouva Group, that it's hard to build like these goals, because I don't really set them, to be honest, and maybe I should, I don't know, but I'm just so focused on now what I need to do and what else I can do.
How would you define success?
Well, good question. Wow, how would I define success?
So it's one many struggle to answer.
It's a very tough one.
And it's quite subjective too, of course.
Yeah. I would say, oh, I don't know, give me a second there. I would say success is freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That is.
And for you, what is that? What is that moment where, I know you're restless, and as am I, and as are a lot of people who are looking for more things in life. But do you think you'll ever have a bit where you look back and you think, I've succeeded?
I'm sure I will. You know.
What does that look like, do you think?
What does that look like? You know, I think, you know, in 10, 15 years or whatever it is, when you've got a family, you can easily take them or whatever you want, you know, like jets and all this kind of stuff, all this amazing stuff. And, you know, I can imagine like laying at a pool at a villa with like your family or even with like a girlfriend or something like that, right? And you're just there, you're very relaxed, business is going very well. And you're like, I've done it. And I can imagine like it's a very casual setting to be in, but also a very cool setting, you know, where you're doing something that you probably couldn't have done before and you're doing it in a very relaxed way. You know, i.e. like, again, going back to what I just said, you know, going to maybe like a stunning resort or villa or doing something crazy that most can't, and you're doing it as potentially the norm, and you're doing it maybe, could be with a loved one, could be with a future family, and you're able to do that, and then you can just sit there and think, okay, you know, something worked.
Do you think the emotion that comes with that when you realize you've succeeded is ecstaticness, excitement, or do you think it's more peace?
More peace.
There's a ancient Greek word, and it's still used today because we don't actually have a word that can match the meaning for it, which is eudaimonia. Are you familiar with this word?
No.
So eudaimonia is, in Greek philosophy, they use it to describe that moment of true happiness. Now, happiness today, the way we use the word happiness is almost hedonistic.
Yeah.
You know, it's about having pleasure and all of this, you know, especially in the Western world, all this materialistic stuff and that sort of thing. But that true state of where I think you have the truest moment of feeling successful is achieving that eudaimonia, where you look around you and you think, and I think it's also achieved when you have the right balance, yin and yang again, of chaos and order, where everything around you is an order, but you're also stepping into more chaos, more unknown. You're still growing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the yin and yang symbol is so important.
Yeah.
Do you have any philosophies? Do you follow, like I've mentioned Greek philosophy and a little bit of Stoicism? Is there any practices that you like to follow which you find help guide you through your busy life?
Yeah, I think I can't remember which book I've read. I read quite a few. But I think it's because it's even like when you're very, so for example, let's just flip it, when you're very successful, it's very easy to like drop. So you become overweight, you start getting very lazy, and then obviously that will then have eventually a negative impact on your life. So when you have everything in abundance, it's important to take a step back and, you know, again, train hard, eat well, do some basic things that then on occasion, when you do, you know, go out or something like that, you can really enjoy it because it's something that you felt like you earned. I'm a big believer in you should earn the things that you do. If it's something that is, I don't really know how to phrase that, but I feel like, yeah, it's just easy to get lazy, especially when you're very successful. And it's about just doing the hard things still and really sticking to that and continuously doing that. Because again, you know, when you've got everything in abundance, it's very easy to slip. And I think a lot of people probably go through that where the business is going well. So they step back a little bit or get a bit lazy with it because it's all going well, but then that will eventually go down. So it's about staying locked in, just keep doing it over and over. Keep the discipline. It's all about discipline. I
like your point about earning things. I don't think that if you've got something and you haven't earned it, the foundation of earning that something is going to rot and everything's going to collapse. You know, it's like telling someone a lie to get a certain outcome. But I do genuinely think that, you know, all those lies rot away and what you have built upon that foundation is just going to collapse.
I agree.
What do you think, like, what would you say to a young person nowadays is an important thing to focus on if they're looking to earn certain things. Like, for example, like, earning good money. How do they actually become the person that can earn that rather than cheating the system?
Yeah, really good question. I think that's also probably one of the hardest questions ever to answer. I would say find something you kind of like or you enjoy and try and build a business around it, but try many different things, but focus on one core concept. And just put in the work. And I would say try and just fail. Like try, but so when I say try and fail, it doesn't mean like try one thing, then jump to another thing, jump to another thing. Like I've got this business, another business, another business. Stick with one business thing. And then just try loads of different things around that business and see what kind of works. Then that kind of working thing, do that a little bit better and then keep doing it that way. You've just got to fail. And I know, again, it's probably quite a broad answer because, well, what should I do? I think it's try and find something you like enjoy a little bit because it's just important to enjoy it a little bit, at least. And from that, just try and build some sort of business. There's so many things you can do nowadays with, whatever it is, but also be reasonable. If it's something that there isn't going to be much money and it's very obvious, well, then don't do that. Try and find something else. But try something and then try that something in multiple different ways and then see what kind of works and go for it.
Failure is feedback.
It is.
Feedback is knowledge, and knowledge is more power.
Yeah.
And the more of that knowledge you accumulate, the more power you accumulate. Not necessarily like power as in control over people, but control over the things you do.
Yeah.
I think you also, with that more knowledge, you feel like you happen to life more than life happens to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely importance in, if you're a captain in a ship, just go down with the ship and get back up and go again.
Exactly.
And there's two mindsets you can have to that, right? There's, when you fail, you can have the positive mindset and you can have a negative mindset, and you can be brought down by this thing you feel defeated by, or you can just get back up again and keep going. What I think there was it's not the what's the quote? It's something like to do with how many times someone got back up again. It's or Rocky. It's not how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. I love that. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Are there any like occurrences you've had, any times you've had in your business, in your personal life, where you feel like you really failed and you feel like maybe you've hit rock bottom or whatever, and you've had something in you go, just keep going?
That's a good question. There's been self-doubt's awful. You're going to come across self-doubt. It's perfectly normal. People can say, believe in yourself, all of this. You do have to do that, but you will have self-doubt. There's no doubt about it. Generally, you will. But it's about what you do with that self-doubt. Are you going to keep going or are you going to stop? So it's about, going forward. Keep going. Push through it. It might be there, the noise, and, this isn't going to work or whatever it is, but just keep going. See what happens. Ignore it. But I would say kind of my own personal life, there's things that, you go through like relationships, girlfriends, these kind of things, they're tough, I think, especially when you're trying to build a business. And, I think every successful guy probably goes through some sort of heartbreak. So, that's something that kind of fuels some of the fire. I would say, family things, there's always problems of family, but I think when you might be sad or upset or anything like that, you can really use it as fuel. And sometimes you may feel slightly paralyzed with whatever it is, but I think it's using that as a way to move forward. And everyone has their own life, and I'm sure people have family issues, relationship issues, perfectly normal, friendship issues, whatever it is. But whatever that is, use that negativity that might be in your head to then turn that into something positive. And it's really just focusing on that and just focusing, right, I feel awful now, but what can I do to feel better? And again, that's why I'm like, well, 1% better every day. What can I do today that's going to make it better than yesterday? And so it's just doing that over and over again. And eventually you then get to a point where this isn't so bad. And you just have to ignore, because a lot of people talk about happiness and you've got to be happy. And of course, I'm a happy guy, but you can't think of that as your main thing. Because if you just think, well, I need to be happy, so I'm not going to do it, well then good luck. Because it's not about that. you do have to be somewhat emotionless when it comes to building a life you want to build. Because also, when you are happy, it's going to be because of a fucking great reason. And it's just pushing the feelings aside a little bit and just going forward. And yeah, using things that are negative in your life, whether it's, yeah, again, like family, relationships, friendships, and just trying to turn that into something positive for yourself.
I love the outlook that you have on, in particular with like heartbreak and stuff, but in general, when you experience this negative emotion, whether it be, you know, jealousy, fear, hatred, all of these things, they're all natural to the human experience. And they will really bring you down if you let it. But I loved your outlook where you said it's fuel. I think you can alchemize these emotions and turn it into something positive.
Yeah, sure.
And it's also so very true that it's a problem when you chase happiness, because happiness is fleeting. You know, enjoyment, pleasures, they're all fleeting, and they are more so a side effect of the things that you do.
Yeah.
When you also mentioned, you know, self-doubt and all this stuff. Do you experience doubt, not in yourself, but going forward in the future? Is there anything that you fear, anything that you doubt?
Yeah, I think that any guy that wants to achieve is that what happens if it doesn't work? It's a perfectly normal thing to potentially have in your head. Because you might see all the motivational stuff in the world, and you know, I do as well. I do a lot of motivational stuff. Just believe in yourself and, you know, go forward. But there might still be that voice there. But it's what you do with that voice. And, you know, if you can just keep going forward, it's important, because at the end of the day, you don't know where you're going to be, but you can do things that will get you to where you want to be. And you've just got to, again, mold your life to try and be in like the best position to then put yourself where you want to be. Because again, you can't read the future, but you, like I just said, you can build things that will potentially get you to where you want to get to. And with the, you know, the self-doubt of like, well, what happens if I don't do it? Well, today I'm going to do everything that I can that's going to potentially get me to that. So it's trying to be, again, present, but also looking in the future and trying to just ignore the thought. It's human nature to have self-doubt. And at the end of the day, it'd be fucking boring if you knew where you're going to end up, right? So embrace it a little bit. Embrace the self-doubt of, well, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And yeah, I like to always have that thought, that if it was easy, everyone would do it. And that's what keeps me going. I think that's a big thing I always remember. And yeah.
The unknown, as we said, is like everyone fears the unknown. That's
Yeah.
very, very, very common to human nature, but also fear can be turned very easily into excitement.
Yeah.
And like you said, if we knew where we're going to end up, it would be boring.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that the unknown is what makes life actually enjoyable.
Yeah.
That thing that we fear is what actually brings the novelty and
Yeah.
and the actual experience of life.
Yeah.
That voice in your head that we've spoken about, that, you know, doubts and it's almost like a self-protection system, and that sort of thing. At what point do you stop ignoring that voice? You know, you have the voice saying, don't do this, you're going to hurt yourself, don't run that extra mile, you know, you're going to pull a muscle or whatever. It's very easy. Like David Goggins, I mean, he's a wonderful example of someone who has gone so far into ignoring that voice that he's injured himself quite a lot. So how do you identify the point of, you know, I'm going to listen to that voice now?
Yeah. Good question. I mean, I've been there loads of times, like, for example, with running, and you're like, I'm fucked. And you're just there, and you're just like, I just can't, my body is dead. And then obviously you've got the David Goggins in your voice, like, keep going. But it's a good question. I think be reasonable with certain things. If it's training and you're going to go for a run and you want to try really hard, well, push yourself to your limit. But if you're going to be in a position where it's going to mess you up for the whole week, you know, then maybe that isn't the best thing. But it's tough, because I would say that, but I'd be the guy that would run and then go and injure himself for a week. Like, but yeah, just be a bit reasonable. Push yourself hard. I wouldn't say know your limits, because I think limits are meant to be pushed. But yeah, if you're generally like, right, this is really going to mess me up, then stop. I think even with like work and burnout, it's a similar thing. You know, when there's a point of like, right, I need to have a little bit of a break here. And it's perfectly normal to accept that. But as long as you're still moving in the right direction and you've kind of earned that, of like, right, I've pushed hard enough, I can have a break, I deserve a break, then sure.
And what do you do when you deserve your break? Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, again, I meet friends who go out to dinners, do the odd clubbing night, I used to be quite, I used to go out quite a lot. Um, yeah, just friends, those kind of things, spend time with family. I'm at the effort to see my mother every weekend, on a Sunday. We go on a nice long walk, catch up. That's always really nice. Um, so yeah, it's doing, I would say, like, the normal things. But for me, a big thing is, yeah, trying to get out of the house and just do something in a different setting, and probably talking about something different than like work and business and all of this. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy going out with friends and family and taking a step back. Like I said earlier, some of the best times I've had is it doesn't really matter where it is, just having a pint with like some friends, just chatting absolute shit for hours and getting a bit too drunk. But it's great, and I think as long as you can do that and, just enjoy the moment, it's important. At the end of the day,
Again.
yeah, and life is short. So you do have to remember that as well. It's tough. You want to go all out, be glued into this goal, but you do have to allow yourself those times, because yeah, you could die tomorrow, and enjoy the moments when you deserve to enjoy them.
What's next for Nouva? What have you got coming up?
What's next? So we have a lot coming up. So we've got the retreat side, which is building very well. We have an app that we're launching that will digitalize a lot of Nouva. So at the moment, our main concept is events. We also do like a webinar, those kind of things, but also we want to, the way I kind of phrase it is like it's similar to like Hinge and Tinder before young professionals. So young professionals can build profiles, they can kind of connect, those kind of things. And so that will be what the next step for Nouva Group. And then eventually we'll go global, and then we'll have two kind of main concepts. We'll have the digital side, which is just digital, where young professionals want to connect. And then we'll have the obviously in-person side, where we'll do different events around the world. And, that's the longer scope with like globalization. But yeah, that's where we will go.
To finish up,
Yeah.
I have two questions.
Yep.
To anyone looking to make improvements in their life or looking to make a change, what would your advice be?
I would say, just do it. Just do it. Stop making up excuses. You know what you need to do. Just do it.
Just do it.
Literally do it.
Dive in.
Do it, dive in, and do it over and over and over until it becomes a routine. And there's no other option. There's a lot of people that make up, excuses not to do things all the time. I hear it a lot, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Just do it. If you do the thing, you'll be 1% better already.
What would you like to ask the next person that I have on my podcast?
That's a great question.
You have no idea who it's going to be.
Okay, what do I want to ask?
But they've got to answer it.
Okay, I would say, what's one thing you would change about yourself if you could?
One thing you would change about yourself if you could. I love it. Adam, absolute pleasure. Thank you.